Associate Director of Political Science at Hofstra University. We welcome back to the show Dr. Richard Himmelfarb. Dr. Himmelfarb, it's a pleasure. How you been, sir?
Been fine, thank you. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, sir. So the Obama administration, I understand, might be applying a make-it-hurt policy when it comes to this budget impasse. I saw this write-up that said that there's a Pentagon furlough of 400,000 civilian staffers that should not be taking place because I guess Congress already paid for these people's salary. So what do you see is taking place right now when it comes to letting people go that should be on the job?
Well, I mean, look, most of the people who absolutely need to be on the job and are providing for public safety are on the job. The people who have been furloughed are the so-called non-essential employees, and I think some of these people ultimately do need to come back and work. I mean, we have a skeleton staff of 3,000 air traffic controllers nationwide instead of the normal 10,000. So I think that most people would agree that absolutely we ultimately are going to need 10,000 air traffic controllers on the job. A lot of these other government officials, I'm not clear what they do. I'm not clear what the typical bureaucrat in the Department of Education actually does that is so vital to the well-being of the country. And, the interesting thing is, when these government shutdowns occur, how little impact they seem to have on the average person's life in this country.
Does that not make an argument, then, for fiscal conservatives who are rallying, and should be, in my opinion, rallying even a stronger message? If they're so non-essential, why have them in the first place?
That's a good argument. Unfortunately, I think that this is sort of small, relatively speaking, small potatoes compared to the larger issue, which is whether the government should be shut down. And I mean, I think that to a lot of Americans, even while these people are may not be doing a lot that's vital to the well-being of the country, I think a lot of Americans find it disconcerting that there is so much dysfunction that Democrats and Republicans can't even agree on whether to keep the government running or how to keep the government running.
Joining us on 710 KURV from Hofstra University is Dr. Richard Himmelfarb.
Yeah, Dr. Himmelfarb, Tim Sullivan here. You may not know what all of these, bureaucrats and federal employees do, but there are 800,000 of them. That's 800,000 people not getting paychecks, not contributing as consumers to the economy, on and on and on.
That's, I guess, problematic. But I mean, my
yes, it is problematic, and you're trying to downplay that.
When in a workforce of tens of millions of people, I guess my question is always what is being done by these 800,000 people that's so vital, not whether these people are getting a check. I mean, you could give people a check for digging ditches and then filling the holes back in. But the question in my mind
those
is,
are people
these
getting
really
paychecks and allowing them to,
I know, but the question really
care for their
is,
families.
Are these people, I guess my question is, are these people really doing tasks that are vital and necessary to the
really
well-being
difference does that make if they're no longer able to support their families without these paychecks? Where are the priorities here?
And if you're taking money out of the wallets of taxpayers to pay for a bunch of people who are not doing work that's vital to the well-being of the country.
You're not getting my point. Let me turn over to another. There's a report by nationalreview.com, Robert Costa, that these talks last night, the meetings between President Obama and the congressional leaders, that they weren't as unaccomplished, I guess, as the rest of the media is reporting, that there is some talk of beginning negotiations again on a grand bargain. What do you hear about that?
Well, I think that what everybody is trying to do going forward is to try to give the Republicans a fig leaf, if so, I'm mixing a couple metaphors, to help them get themselves out of the corner that they've painted themselves into. So that's a mixed metaphor. But, the Republicans have basically said that they won't reopen the government unless Obamacare is delayed for a year. President Obama and the Democrats have been unequivocal in saying that that's absolutely not going to happen. And it appears that Republicans, led by Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz,
who got taken to the woodshed last night, as a matter of fact.
Well, I mean, it appears that he really had absolutely no strategy for how this was going to play out and what was going to happen when the Democrats said, hell no, we're not going to do this. And as a result, look, people dislike Obamacare, but they also say that the government should not be shut down over this issue of Obamacare. And so,
well, it's the law. Let it play out.
Losers.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for the Dems, it's not shut down, and people are not feeling the effect. We go back to square one, which is if these people are so non-essential, why are they working for the government in the first place? And just, follow up to what you and Tim were talking about a second. How about they enter the private sector and start creating wealth, maybe start up their own companies, partner with family and friends, go back to school, fill in the gaps for CPAs, nurses, and other professions that we're so desperately needing to fill in this country, get those million back into the private sector to create the wealth that the public sector will be leeching off of for all eternity. All right, Dr. Himmelfarb, thanks for joining us. Dr. Richard Himmelfarb, he is the author of Catastrophic Politics, The Rise and Fall of the Medicare Catastrophic Coverage Act of 1988. He's from Hofstra University.